It's 1943. Across battle-scarred skies, the songs of Oklahoma float on the breeze. A secret code machine hums in a quiet English room. And somewhere, a small steel penny glints in a child's hand. Let's drift softly into that year, into the gentle pulse of a world at war, still dreaming of peace. I'm Toro. Tonight, I invite you to rest with me in 1943, a year balanced between hardship and hope, between the noise of conflict and the whisper of ordinary life. This was a time when humanity, despite its wounds, kept moving forward, inventing, creating, and finding moments of beauty even in the dimmest light. We'll travel slowly through the days of 1943, the world's quiet turning points, the stories that defined its heart, the routines that shaped its mornings and nights. You'll hear of discoveries born in secret rooms, of songs that warmed cold winters, and of the soft resilience that carried people onward. So settle in. Breathe deeply. The world of 1943 awaits, wrapped in candlelight and memory. World events. In 1943, the world stood in motion, exhausted but awakening. Across the frozen east, the long battle of Stalingrad reached its bitter end. After months of siege, silence fell over the ruined city. Soldiers laid down their arms, and for the first time in years, the Volga River ran free beneath the pale light of winter. In the summer, far to the west, Allied ships crossed the Mediterranean toward Sicily. The warm air carried the scent of salt and orange groves as boots touched sunlit shores. The invasion marked a quiet shift in the war's rhythm, a slow push toward liberation. Meanwhile, in the fields of Kursk, thousands of armored vehicles faced one another in one of history's largest tank battles. The roar of engines filled the steppe, then faded into the long hum of change. The tides of war began to turn, almost imperceptibly. At year's end, leaders gathered in distant rooms, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, speaking of unity, strategy, and the faint outline of a peace not yet within reach. The world still burned, but its future began to flicker through the smoke. And in quieter places, people simply waited, for letters, for homecomings, for spring. One story that shaped 1943. The fall of Stalingrad. Let us linger for a moment in the frozen streets of Stalingrad. Imagine the city blanketed in snow and ash. Walls stand half-shattered, windows are gone. The only sounds are the crunch of boots and the distant moan of wind through hollow buildings. Here, for months, two armies clung to survival. Soldiers huddled in basements lit by candle stubs. Civilians whispered prayers in the dark, wrapped in threadbare blankets. And then, at last, came the end. The battle's roar fell silent. Exhausted men emerged from cellars and trenches. Some wept, others simply stood, stunned by the stillness. The war was far from over, yet this moment carried a quiet message: even in ruin, endurance remained. In the hush after surrender, there was no triumph, only breath, relief, and the promise that someday, rebuilding would begin. Daily life around the world. Away from the front lines, life went on in muted tones. In towns and villages, mornings began early. Kettles whistled softly on rationed gas stoves. Bread was precious, sometimes homemade, sometimes thin and uneven. In many places, people baked war cakes without eggs or milk, sweetened with syrup or fruit. Clothing was patched and repatched. Wool was reused, buttons salvaged, seams carefully unstitched and sewn again. Stockings were painted on with leg cosmetics when real ones were impossible to find. Fuel was scarce. Bicycles rolled down quiet streets. Horses still pulled carts in some places, while old buses groaned under the weight of passengers heading to factories or fields. In cities, blackout curtains covered windows, turning night into darkness complete. Families gathered around radios, their warm glow the heart of the home, listening for voices that carried both music and news. Children played hopscotch in courtyards or collected bits of metal for recycling drives. They laughed, ran, and dreamed as children always have, their imaginations untouched by scarcity. Across the ocean, in America, the musical Oklahoma opened, and its songs brought sunshine to weary spirits. "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" became a tune hummed in kitchens and sung in schoolyards. In Mexico, a farmer watched his cornfield erupt into smoke and fire. A new volcano, Pericutine, was being born from the earth itself. Neighbors stood in awe as ash rose into the blue sky, a reminder that nature, too, could begin anew. Everywhere, life carried on in small, steadfast ways. Soup simmered. Letters crossed seas. Hope hid in the ordinary. Science, inventions, and technology. Even amid war, imagination refused to rest. In England, deep inside secret rooms, the first electronic computers flickered to life, their valves glowing softly, their spinning wheels decoding messages that would save countless lives. Scientists refined radar, allowing unseen eyes to pierce clouds and darkness. Chemists created new materials, synthetic rubber, stronger metals, safer medicines. From these wartime necessities would grow the seeds of the modern world. And in an American factory, a mother named Vesta Stout noticed that soldiers struggled to open ammunition boxes quickly. She sketched a new kind of fabric tape, sturdy, waterproof, easy to tear, and sent her idea to the government. Her invention, soon mass-produced, became what we now know as duct tape. Even in hardship, ingenuity glowed, small lights guiding the world forward. Culture and the arts. In 1943, beauty found quiet corners to survive in. On Broadway, Oklahoma sang of open skies and simple joys. Its cheerful tunes lifted weary hearts, reminding people that love and laughter could still bloom amid uncertainty. In cinemas, reels spun stories of courage and kindness. Animated shorts brought laughter to children who needed it most. Radio orchestras filled the air with swing, jazz, and harmony, uniting listeners across continents. Writers, too, dreamed through paper. Jean-Paul Sartre explored the nature of existence. Hermann Hesse shaped words into meditations on spirit and freedom. Poets whispered verses about loss, hope, and the moonlight between air raids. Painters, sculptors, and musicians continued their work, sometimes in secret, sometimes in exile, creating beauty from fragments of chaos. Sports carried on wherever possible. In America, two football teams joined together as one, the Steagles, because so many players were serving abroad. In small towns, children played softball, farmers raced bicycles, and families gathered around radios to hear about distant games. Art, in all its forms, kept people human. Media and headlines. The world of 1943 lived by the rhythm of radio and print. Each morning, newspapers arrived thin and grey, filled with columns of careful optimism. Allied forces advance in Sicily. Surrender on the Eastern Front. New musical charms Broadway. In the evenings, families gathered close as radio announcers spoke with calm authority. "Good evening," they began, before reading headlines that balanced between grim and hopeful. Between reports of battles came lighter moments, a new hit song, a war bond drive, the price of sugar. Across kitchen tables, ration books lay open. Coupons for butter, coffee, and fuel were traded and counted like small treasures. Posters reminded everyone to save, to share, to grow gardens and reuse. And always, after the news, came music, a gentle bridge between the weary day and the quiet night. People born and people died. 1943 brought new lives and farewells alike. It was the birth year of future storytellers, musicians, and actors, among them Christopher Walken, whose distinctive voice would one day echo through film, and Lucio Battisti, whose songs would bring Italian pop to life decades later. It was also the year the world said goodbye to great minds, Nikola Tesla, the visionary of electricity, George Washington Carver, the scientist of soil and kindness, the mathematician David Hilbert, and the composer Sergei Rachmaninoff, whose music still floats through concert halls and dreams. Each of them left behind sparks that would continue to light the path ahead. As 1943 came to a close, the world exhaled a tired but hopeful sigh. Snow fell on the ruins of cities and on the rooftops of small cottages. Soldiers wrote letters home, promising to return. Families saved candles for Christmas and sang softly under blackout skies. The war was not over, yet something within it had changed. For the first time, people began to imagine the sound of peace, distant, faint, but real. In living rooms, the radio played carols. In fields, frost glimmered. Children dreamt of the future, of toys and laughter and calm mornings. And so the year drifted into memory, a year of endurance, invention, quiet miracles, and the stubborn hope that spring would come again. Let's leave 1943 now, slowly, as dawn approaches the edge of history. The world turns. The stars remain. And tomorrow, another chapter begins. Thank you for dreaming with me through the gentle pages of 1943. If this journey brought you peace or wonder, I'd love for you to stay a while, to like, to subscribe, to join me again as we drift softly into the next year. Until then, may your thoughts be light, your heart steady, and your night filled with calm stars. Good night, dear listener. I'm Toro, and this was the world in 1943.